fellow weirdos, I'm Andy Negative, and today we're going to set up some guitars. Alright weirdos, before we jump in, please take a second to subscribe to my channel and ring-a-ling-a-ling that notification bell. Today we're going to be looking at a Gibson style guitar with a tune-o-matic bridge.
Here's the tools you'll need.
First up, you're going to need a chromatic tuner of some sort. I have a tuning pedal, but if you don't have a tuning pedal, you can just use your phone. Boss has a great tuning app that you can download for free on iOS and Android, and is a very reliable tuner that I use all the time. Next up, you're going to need some strings. I like to use Ernie balls, but really it's all your preference. Next up, you're going to need a screwdriver with multiple bits. I would suggest a multi-head screwdriver. It's just way more convenient. If not, you will need a screwdriver with a Phillips head and a screwdriver with a flat head. You're going to need 2 Allen keys, 1 large Allen key and 1 small Allen key. It would be best to have an Allen key set. I only have the 2 Allen keys that I need though. You're going to need some sort of wire clippers to clip the ends of your strings. Any wire clippers will do. I would suggest having some sort of container to keep your screws and extra bits in so that you don't lose anything. This is a sour cream container, 1%. So you know it's fat-free. It's good for you. You're also going to need a patch cable to plug in to your tuner, unless you're using your phone, in which case you don't need one. I also suggest having some paper towel handy so that you can wipe down the guitar, wipe off the dust, wipe off the finger gunk, and wipe down your work surface. For cleaning your fretboard, I would suggest an old toothbrush or one of these scrub pads if it's really, really, really dirty. Only use this if you have a lot of finger gunk. You're also going to need a capo for checking string relief. A few optional items, I would suggest a metal ruler, which we can use to check neck relief. If you don't have one of those, we have a few other options. I would also suggest having some sort of card, a playing card. This is one of the ways that we can measure the distance of the strings and the neck. And finally, you're going to want something to prop up the head of your guitar. I have a yoga block, but you can use anything. I've used rolled up sweaters, I've used books, really anything will do as long as it is able to lift the head of your guitar up. It will just make it easier to get access. That's it for the tools. Let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is take off your strings. A couple ways to do this. You can either take the wire cutters and you can just snap the strings off at the end, or you can simply unwind the strings and take them out. Once you've taken the strings off, you're going to want to clean the fretboard and clean the guitar's body. This will be a lot easier than trying to clean the dust off with the strings on, so now is the ideal time to do it. To clean the fretboard, take the old toothbrush and get in there just against the fret wires and really scrub out any of the finger gunk that's collected. Trust me, there's finger gunk in there. It collects and it collects fast, and it is gross. This will take a couple minutes, but once you've gone through the entire neck, you'll be able to just give it a nice wipe down with your paper towel, and then you can wipe off the headstock underneath where the strings sit, and down between the pickups and underneath the bridge pieces on the guitar body. Once we've got the guitar nice and tidy, we're going to want to take off the truss rod cover. So as you can see right here, I've already done that. I've taken it off in advance. It's a little easier to take off now, but you can take it off once the strings are on. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your strings and you're going to string this sucker up. Feed the strings through from the end, lay them over top the saddles, and then string them up into the tuning machines. Now, if you have locking tuners on the guitar, like I do, you merely pull the strings taut, tighten the tuner, and then tune it up to the desired note. If you don't have locking tuners, you're going to want to pull the string through all the way and then back off a little bit so you have a small amount of slack. Then you're going to want to tighten the string around so that the additional string goes underneath and just has 1 to 2 windings around. You don't want too many windings because this can cause the strings to slip later on. Now what I usually do is I start with a low string and then a high string, and then a low string and then a high string. This isn't critical, but I like to keep even tension across the neck as I'm restringing the guitar. As the tuning machines are higher on the head, you're going to need to leave slightly more slack on the string so that you can achieve the right amount of windings. Now don't worry if you mess it up and you wind it around too many times. This is going to take practice, so just restring your guitar a lot and eventually you'll get it down pat. Now that we have the strings on and tuned up to the notes that they're going to be, we're going to want to just take each string individually and just pull on it. Pull on it all over the fretboard, around the 12th fret, the 9th fret, and then tune it up. It's going to be out of tune because you're stretching the string. You're going to want to go through and stretch each string individually, one by one, and then tune it up. Don't be afraid to yank on the string a little bit, but don't pull too hard because some of the higher strings can be broken just by the force of pulling on them. I've done it before. It's annoying because you're just going to have to go get another string. But don't be afraid to yank on them just a bit, just to give them a good stretch. Once you've stretched each string and tuned it up, you're going to go back to the first string and start over again. You're going to want to do this about 3 times. That'll have stretched the strings out so that they should stay pretty well in tune. If you don't stretch the strings this way, it can take upwards of 24 hours for the strings to stretch naturally. So we're just speeding up the process. Now that the strings are in tune, we're going to check the neck relief. Now you want a straight neck, but you don't want a completely straight neck. You do want a small amount of back bow, just a very small curve. A perfectly straight neck is not the ideal setup. Now if you have too much back bow, there's going to be spots in your guitar where you have to really hammer down on the notes and the strings are going to go out of tune with themselves and it's going to be just a disaster to play. And if you have too much of an inward bow, that's going to cause some of the higher notes to just flub out as they rest on the following frets, meaning that you won't be able to play higher notes at all. And that's going to be also another disaster. Ideally, you have a small curve which allows the strings to hold the proper tension on the neck. Now there's a couple ways to check this. The first way to check it is to look down the neck on either side, close one eye and look down side, and you'll be able to see the straightness of the neck. Again, a small bow is okay. Once you try looking down the neck, you'll see what I mean. There are a couple other ways to check neck relief. There are a few tools that professional luthiers use, like spanners, but most of us don't have access to those tools. So we're going to use a couple DIY ways of checking the neck relief. The first way is to take a straight edge metal ruler and lay it across the frets, like so. You'll be able to see around between the 9th and 12th fret that there's a small amount of light breaking through. If there's a small amount of light, that's okay. If there's a large amount of light, you need to tighten up your neck. Another and simpler way to check neck relief is we're going to take a capo and we're going to capo down on the 1st fret, like so. Once we've done that, we're going to fret one of the higher frets. Any of the frets will really do, but basically anything above the 14th fret. I usually do the 16th or the 18th fret. And you're going to press down on about the 9th fret. Now, what you should get is a plinking sound, kind of like that. The small plinking sound means that there's a little bit of distance between the string and the frets, which is ideal. If you get no plinking sound at all, that means the neck has too much of a bow inward and is causing problems, or is too flat. If you feel a large gap before getting the plink, that means that there's too much of a bow in your neck. Another way to check this is to take a small playing card. I have this Pokemon playing card that is laying about, and you can slide it underneath around the 9th fret, move it around a little bit, and you'll get an idea of how close the strings are based on how difficult it is to move the card around. What you're really looking for is a very small amount of space, and if this card is difficult to move, that means it's probably too close. I personally just like the plinking the string. It seems to get the best results. Now, if you find that you need to adjust the neck, this is where the Allen key is going to come in handy. So we're going to put the Allen key in the end of the truss rod. It should fit nicely. And then depending on whether the neck is too much of a back bow or too much of an inward bow, you're going to make small adjustments. If there's too much of a back bow, you're going to want to push the Allen key away from you, which will tighten the truss rod, bringing the neck closer to the strings. And if there's too much of an inward bow, you're going to want to turn the Allen key towards you, which will back off the truss rod, creating a bit of a backwards bow. You only want to make small adjustments at a time. Don't be afraid, but small adjustments, small little quarter turns at a time. Then check the neck, check the string relief. If it's still not right, make a small adjustment in whatever direction is necessary. It's really important that you only make small moves at a time because you don't want to damage the neck and you don't want to damage the fretboard, and big moves can cause problems. But if your guitar is relatively well maintained, there shouldn't be any major issues. This guitar needed a small amount of work, but nothing crazy, and I play it all the time. Now, in order to adjust the action, all you're going to do is adjust the height of the saddles and bring them closer or further away from the neck. If you're getting a lot of buzzing, once you've adjusted and you can tell that there's proper string relief, that means that these strings are too close to the fretboard and you need to raise up the bridge, which is easy enough to do. On a tunematic bridge, you basically just take a screwdriver, plug it in, and raise up each side until it's even. Ideally, you want a low action. It's easier to play that way, but some people like a slightly higher action. That's fine. This is all personal taste, so you're just going to adjust the bridge height-wise, either up or down, until it feels natural. Now that your strings are all stretched out and tuned up, we're going to check intonation. Checking intonation is a fairly simple process. All you need to do is make sure that the string is in tune with itself. The string should always be in tune with itself, you're thinking. Right, because of the shape of the neck, the higher notes can be out of tune with the lower notes. I'm sure you've been playing a guitar where you found that the guitar wasn't in tune with itself the higher you got up the fretboard. So to do this, it's a very simple process. We're just going to check the open note, make sure that it's in tune, and then you're going to play the harmonic on the 12th fret, and you're going to see, oh, it's slightly out of tune. And all we're going to do once we're there is we're going to adjust the strings down at the saddles. Now on the tunematic bridge, you're going to see that the saddles have a flat nose screw attached to them. And all you're going to do is you're going to strike the harmonic, and if you are slightly flat, you're going to turn the screw towards yourself, and if you're slightly sharp, you're going to turn the screw away from yourself. Then you're going to retune the string and check the harmonic, and you'll be closer or further away. You're going to keep adjusting small adjustments until you found that the harmonic and the open string are the same. Once you've managed to get them to both be the same, your guitar is now in tune with itself. You're going to want to go through and follow this step for each string individually, and when you're done, all the strings will be in tune with themselves and your guitar will be officially set up. Finally, we're going to want to snip the ends of the strings off with our wire cutters. Leave a small amount of string left over so that the strings don't slip back through, and that's it, you're done. Les Paul is set up with a brand new pair of strings and it's ready to be plugged in and played. That's pretty much it. That is how we set up a guitar. If you found this video useful and insightful, please leave a like. And if you've ever had a guitar that's had an insane back bow or inward bow, let me know down in the comments. I have a fun story about a bass guitar that had an absolutely insane back bow on it, to the point where I don't know if I can even play the thing anymore, but we'll talk about that another time maybe. If you would like to support me in my creative endeavors further, please consider joining my community of weirdos over on Patreon. My community gets exclusive music, behind-the-scenes content, and early access to everything that I release. Good luck setting up your guitars. You should all be comfortable doing it yourself, so just do it yourself. That's it for today. I'm Andy Negative, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Bye!